While many bands go through their entire existence without releasing a single video game about themselves, San Francisco arena rockers Journey did not hang about. Within the space of a year, right at the dawn of the popularisation of video games, Journey put out not one, but two of them. Journey, let's get it out the way first, are primarily known by the general populace for that one song. I don't even have to say what it is, but I'm going to anyway. Don't Stop Believin'. They are by no means a one-hit wonder band, far from it, but ignore the cultural impact of that song, a behemoth of a karaoke classic, and how that impact dwarfs nearly everything else they've done, well, that would be doing it, and indeed them, a massive disservice. Mike DeGagne of AllMusic described Don't Stop Believing as a perfect rock song, an anthem, and stated that it features the best opening keyboard riff in rock. You know it, I know it, we all know it. Don't Stop Believing is an all-time classic. It was played during the famous final sequence of The Sopranos. It was a signature tune of the often irritating inspirational music comedy show Glee. It's the biggest selling song on iTunes that wasn't released originally in the 21st century. Funnily enough though, it was only a modest hit when it was released back in 1981, reaching just number 9 in its native states and not even bothering the top 40 in the UK. So with that big elephant out of the way, let's have a quick overview of Journey the band before we get to the two games. Our journey began, see what I did there, in 1973, formed by members of Santana and Frumious Bandersnatch. Now, I've heard of Santana, as I'm sure most of us have, but I've not heard of Frumious Bandersnatch. I'm just going to go and pretend that Lewis Carroll formed a band in the 1800s before he died, and that surviving members of that band are really, really old. There's research, and then there's utter nonsense, and I shall now dance away from the latter. Cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. No Lewis Carroll band. Journey had their biggest success after Steve Perry joined the band in 1978, with the album Escape, which featured Don't Stop Believing and another major hit, Open Arms, achieving major success in the States. The other album from that period, Frontiers, also bothered the upper echelons of the album charts on both sides of the Atlantic. Journey have had many lineup changes over the years, but they've never reached the heights of their Escape and Frontier heyday. The enduring appeal of their biggest hit keeps them in the public consciousness, however, and they continue performing to this very day. The two games then, starting with Journey Escape on the Atari 2600. The plotline is that a spectacular performance has just ended. Now it's up to you to guide each Journey band member past hordes of love-crazed groupies, sneaky photographers and shifty-eyed promoters to the safety of the Journey Escape vehicle in time to make the next concert. Your mighty manager and loyal roadies are there to help, but the escape is up to you. What this boils down to in game terms is that you'll be scrabbling around the screen trying to avoid all kinds of denizens of debauchery running towards you. Roadies, those mighty amp-shifting muscle men, grant you a brief period of invincibility. The manager will enable you just to strut straight to the band's scarab-shaped spaceship, which I presume, unlike the rest of the game, is where this realistic depiction of the after show of a Journey concert ends. Do Journey own a spaceship for real? All I know is it looks pretty badass, like a bug version of the Golden Condor from the Mysterious Cities of Gold. You can aid yourself as well by pressing the fire button, which enables you a quick burst of speed to get through the absolute slalom of groupies hungry for Journey members' D's. Reviews are tricky to find because the game is so old. I think it's the oldest game I've covered so far, dating of course back to 1982. A magazine I've certainly never heard of, which I presume is American, Electronic Fun with Computer Games, what a catchy name that is, they covered it, declaring it in a big bold font as the first rock video game. The magazine was generally a fan of the game, giving it 3 sticks out of 5, which I presume is their scoring system. They pointed out, however, that the scoring system is broken. You see, you've got to keep as much money as possible, and money represents the score in this game. Now, you can end up guiding all 4 members of the band to the Scarab, but you could end up not having a single cent to your name. Or you can completely fail to get any of the band members there and have loads of cash. You see, back then, magazines and fans of video games, they didn't have a lot of endings to games, so they all loved scores. The main thing was to get scores up. It's why Billy Mitchell exists, to prove he's the best and isn't a massive cheat who wears dodgy ties and looks like Jesus. The game, played today, like a lot of older Atari games, is very rudimentary. There are some great games on the system that made the most of the system's limitations, but I'm not sure that this is one of those. It's very colourful when there's no issues with control, but it is tricky not to get too bored with it very quickly. I stopped Believin. I was having fun pretty quickly, and I'm not sure Journey would like my thinking there, whether I was born in South Detroit or not. The game didn't do very well for Data Age, the creators, either, and they closed shortly afterwards. Oh dear. The other game based on Journey appeared just a year later, courtesy of Bally Midway. Its release was designed to coincide with the band's 1983 tour. This game could even be a sequel of sorts to what they did in the Atari game, as of course in that game you were trying to board their ship. This is their adventures after. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to come up with Journey video game linking headcanon. The objective in this game is to fly to different planets and retrieve the band's instruments. Each level is set on one of these planets, and each member completes 2 minigames in order to get their instruments and then return to the safety of the Scarab. The band are represented by some rather ingregorious but quite amusing black and white photos of their heads mounted on tiny animated cartoon bodies. The digitalisation of real photographs, particularly presented in this level of detail, was very new technology at the time, and the game has that nice crisp resolution of the early Bally and Atari arcade machines. The games on offer are simple, but generally okay. Singer Steve Perry must walk through laser turnstiles without cutting off his limbs, then blast his way back out using the power of song. Guitarist Neil Schon must navigate through the labyrinthine caverns without touching the sides to retrieve his axe while wearing a jetpack. Now that's rock and roll. Steve Smith athletically bounds upon floating drums to get the kit that his parents probably regretted getting for him and then didn't when the royalty checks started rolling in. Jonathan Cain has a reverse Donkey Kong level in order to reclaim his keyboard. He properly gets smashed up when he dies higher up the screen. Poor old Jonathan Cain here. That's not going to do his bum any good. I bet he'll have a big old bruise in the morning. Right on his coccyx. Finally, Ross Valerie must leap from block to block in his efforts to clasp his bass in his sweaty rock palms again. After this is done, we get a game where you control a roadie called Herbie. After this is done, we get a game where you control a roadie called Herbie, which you will eventually fail, and a so-called fan will rush past and steal the band's instruments back again and then throw them back on the planet. What an arsehole that guy is. The game then repeats forever, because after all, some will win, some will lose. Others were born to sing the blues. Oh, the games, they never end. They go on and on and on. Oh, yeah. See, I'd started by not singing that, then singing that, and now you realise why I don't normally sing. No reviews are to be found of the Bally Midway journey, but I much preferred it to the Atari effort personally. It's a varied, enjoyable collection of some of the greatest hits of early video games, though there's no Pac-Man rip-off, which is very surprising. All the levels can be tackled in any order, and they're easy to pick up, fun to play, and reasonably well presented. Journey, the arcade game, is by far the best game I've played in this series so far, but I'm only 3 episodes in, and the only other 2 games that I've played are a scrolling breast 'em up in Sabrina and a rushed adventure game based on the Thompson twins. And so I guess this brings our journey to an end. Just, do you see what I did there? I used the same pun as earlier on. I'm a bit disappointed in myself. But there we are. Okay, thanks, bye.